All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. This is a really, really easy section. And when you take your quiz, it might take you 5 minutes, okay? So there's going to be plenty of time, guys, for you Zoom in with me. There's going to be plenty of time for you to start working on that makeup work. You need to get it in. I'm going to close the modules and you're not going to be able to have it. Some of you are failing my class just because you're being lazy, and we need to be a little bit more productive. If you need help, I'm here all the time. You just need to let me know. So again, this set of notes will not take that long at all. All right, so we're going to skip the part about recursive formula. And I'm just going to let you know that when you see recursive, you're writing a next equals now statement. Probably close to halfway in your packet, maybe a little less than halfway. So again, a recursive formula. It's in there, I promise. That's Monday and Tuesday's work that you guys have already done. Sorry, the students in here are trying to find their notes in their packet. You guys have your packet, so you're already there, but they got to get caught up. All right, sorry guys. All right, so your recursive is the next now statement, and a next now statement is just something that looks like this. Next equals now plus 4, start at 6. And we'll explain it in just a minute of exactly how it works. I'm coming back, don't freak out. Brianna, you good now? You good? All right. So an explicit formula is the actual equation. So an equation in y equals or f of x equals form. And remember, f of x is just a fancy way of writing y. It's called function notation. And then you have two different linear forms. Your first one is y equals mx plus v. And we learned that that's your slope-intercept form. Or if they give it to you like this, ax plus by, where x and y are on the same side, that is standard form. And remember, standard form we've done a couple times where we had to solve it for y. So we move x and then divide by the number with y. We'll talk about this fn minus 1, fn plus 1 when we get there. Again, not hard stuff. Not hard stuff. All right. I want to actually go to example 2 before I come to example 1. Example 1 is actually a little bit harder than example 2. Same thing, just harder numbers. Okay, so go ahead and go to example 2. And then the first thing I'm actually going to do is write an equation, because we know how to go from a table to an equation. So what we need to know is the slope and the y-intercept. So remember, the slope is the change in y over the change in x. So if we look at our y's, what's happening? What are we going up by? Look at it. 150 to 3, 1.5, 1.5, $1.50. Look at the top. What's it going up by?
2.
Very good. So our change in y was 1.50. Our change in x was 2. You're going to do this on the first example. Just those two numbers are a little bit harder to find. So we'll get there in a minute. You can use your calculator on this if you want to. Don't try to do it in your head. If you're confused about it, test it. It doesn't matter. So I checked it and it's 0.75. You can leave it as a decimal. So 75 cents. How do I find my y-intercept from a chart?
Go backwards.
So I need to go to 0. So I was adding 2 up here. So to get backwards, I'll subtract 2, which gives me to my 0. So I know that's as far as I need to go. But to get my actual y-intercept, I need to do the bottom. So I'm going to subtract 150. And what do I get when I subtract 150?
0.
0. So our y-intercept is 0. Janie, do you have a pencil? Janie, do you have a pencil? Excuse me? Okay, get it out and start writing, please. Everybody try to write your equation. Bear with me, guys. Just give me a minute. All right. So our equation should be y equals our slope was 0.75. Make sure you put the x. And then you can put the plus at 0 or not. A better way to write it would be without it. If you gave me a fraction there, I'd be okay with that. Okay. So what is the cost of 0 throws? So up here says the number of throws. We found it was 0. So what's the cost of 0 throws? 0, which makes sense, right? So if I'm not throwing, I better not have to pay. How much does the price increase each time? $1.50. That's why I said if you make the equation, it makes it a little bit easier to answer all the rest of the questions. All right, so write your next now. Here's the new stuff. You ready? You're always going to start with next equals now. You increased, so it's going to be a plus. And what were we increasing by? $1.50. So that's your next equals now. The last part is start at. And remember how every time you've gotten this equation, I've told you to start on the y-intercept or start at this point. This is why I've been saying it like that. So where did we start? What was our y-intercept?
0.
0. Perfect. Thank you. So that's it. That's your next now. So, and it comes from the equation. Next equals now a positive 0.75. Start at 0. Okay, and we're going to do it again and again. Using your equation, predict how many 100 throws would cost. 100 throws. Okay, so you go y equals 0.75x. This was money. This was throws. So where do I plug in 100 at? It's 100 throws. So that means we put it in for x. 0.75 times 100. Oh, sorry, 100. How much would you pay for 100 throws? 75 cents times 100. What do we get? 75. It's okay. It's okay. So you would pay $75 to throw 100 times. All right, I'm going to go back to number one. Back to number one. The numbers are a little different. Some things have to happen. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is write my equation, but I got to find my slope and my y-intercept. My slope and my y-intercept. So I need to do my change in y over change in x. The easiest one to use is the first one. How do I get from 8.2 to 8.7?
Going up by 0.5.
Perfect. On the top, from 2000 to 2002.
Going up by 2.
0.5 divided by 2. 50 cents divided in half. 25 cents. All right, so how do we get our y-intercept? Because these talk about years. Do you think I need to go all the way down to year 0? What do y'all think? This is where this one's a little different. Whatever year they tell us to start with, we're going to make that our 0. Okay, and we'll do that again in the next problem as well. So this would be like year 2. 2004 would be year 4. 2006 would be year 6. So what's our y-intercept? Where did we start?
0.
0 is our x, but remember we want our y-intercept. So where did we start? 8.2. 8.2. It's your start. This one is your start because your x is at 0. It will always be that way when x is 0. Crazy, Brandon. Got worse. Is it monsoon at y'all's houses? Crazy rain? Okay, cool. Good story. All right, write an equation. Y equals, what was our slope? Anybody? 0.25. You can put just 0.25. That's fine. And where did we start? A positive 8.2. We'll write our next equals now. We start it. Next equals now. Do not change that. What are we doing every single time? Going up by what?
2.
Not 2, but what was our slope?
0.5.
Yeah, remember it right here. No. Right here in your equation.
0.25.
Yes. So it's a positive 0.25. So we put a plus 0.25. Where did we start at?
8.2.
8.2. All right, I'm gonna skip part E and I wanna focus on just next nows, okay? All right, part A right here was our slope. Part B was our y-intercept stuff. And then part E is just plugging in. So we're not gonna worry about that right now. Go to example 3. It says write in slope intercept form, write an X now statement. That's the ones I'm gonna worry about, okay? Write an X now, write in slope intercept form. So how do we find our slope? What's happening each time? This one might be the easiest one to do. 7250 to 7100.
Going down by 150.
Perfect. So this one's different because this is the first time we've gone down. 99 to 2000, 2000 to 2001, 2001 to 2002. What are you doing on that one?
Going up by 1.
So our slope, our change in y over our change in x, is down 150 over 1, which just gives us a total of negative 150. Where did we start?
$19.99.
We did, but what's our y value so we can find our y-intercept?
1.
No, what's our y value? Remember your chart is x, y. So this was our start, so the y value is our y-intercept. So y-intercept is 7,700. So now we know how to write an equation. Y equals, what was our slope? Negative 150. We got to put the x with it. And where did we start? 7,700. Your next now follows the same numbers. They use the same exact numbers as your equation. So we're going to do next equals now. Except for this time we have a negative. So instead of plus, what do you think we're going to do? Subtract 150. Start at 7,700. 7,700. I'm not going to worry about the last two. We're going to move on. Right, same thing. All we're doing is next now, and we're doing the slope intercept form. So what's happening each time? If you can't figure this out, you know it's going up. So what I do is I go backwards, 675 minus 525. So I just subtracted these two. And I got what? 150. So each time, since it's going up, I'm adding 150. What's happening on the top? Plus 2. So our change in y over our change in x. Our change in y is 150. Our change in x is 2. What's 150 divided by 2? It's okay. You guys can use your calculators. What'd you get?
75.
Perfect. Do we see our y-intercept? Do we see our y-intercept? It's on our chart right now. Only the years are the ones that you can use that first year as that. So these are not years, these are hours. So what do we need to get to in our chart? 0. We need to go backwards. But what happens when I go backwards 2? Where does that get me?
Turn to a negative.
A negative 1, right? Well, how do I get to positive 0? How do I get to just 0? How do I get to 0?
Add 1. Go up by 1.
You can go up by 1, but I need to go back by 1. So that was halfway, right? Does everybody understand that? It's halfway. So if I go 2, I go 150. How much is halfway? What did we say? 75. So I'm actually going to subtract 75. So I would get to 300. So your y-intercept, or where you start, is 300. So let's write our equation. Y equals, what's our slope? 75 x. And then where did we start? So
300.
Perfect. Everybody perfect. Write a next now statement. So we start next equals now. Do not forget that. If you forget it, you're going to get it wrong on your quiz, okay? Make sure you get that. Are we increasing or decreasing by 75?
Increasing.
Plus 75. And then where did we start? 300. Perfect. All right, so now we have some graphs, and we know how to find them from graphs. How do we find our slope on a graph?
Rise over run.
Rise over run. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, just in case you can't see them, that your rise is 1 and your run is 1. Is this graph positive? Yes, so your slope is positive 1. Very good. Where did we start this graph, or where does it cross the y-axis?
0.
Perfect. So what is my equation? Y equals?
1x.
Yeah, 1x. Where do we start? Plus 0. Or if we want to clean it up, it can just be x. The 1 doesn't matter in front, and the 0 doesn't matter on the end. I like to write it like this so that you can see the next now statement, okay? So you can see the next now from here. Next equals now. Did we go up or down by 1? Up, so it's plus 1. Where do we start at? That's it. So what you're going to be doing on your homework and quiz is that right there, okay? Switching it back and forth between the two. And then you have 2 charts. So make sure you know how to do that. If you're sitting in here, ask me if you get stuck. If you're on Zoom and you need help, email me, remind me, or stay on Zoom. I don't care. All right, number 2, if I do rise over run, I get 3 over 3. Is this graph positive or negative?
Positive.
So 3 over 3 reduces to 1, so we have the same slope as the other one. But this time, where does it start? It's in between 2 and 4.
3.
Yep. So then what's our equation?
Y equals 1x plus 3.
Perfect. So then your next now. Next equals now. What are we doing each time? Not adding 3, but?
Add 1.
Yeah, add the 1. And then where do we start?
3.
Good. All right. I'm going to keep going. All right. So the sequence below shows the number of trees a nursery plants each year. Write a recursive form that can be used to determine the number of trees the nursery will plant next year. All right. So I'm going to make this into a chart to make it a little easier. So this 5 starts with a 1. Okay. The first year they had 5. The second year they had 9. The third year they had 13. The fourth year is 17. And the fifth year is 21. This is an EOC question, okay? And what everybody messes up on is where this 5 is, they use it as your start. It's not, it's year 1. Okay, so we got to go backwards one. So what are we doing each time?
Going up by 4.
By 4. So how would I get my 0 or my y-intercept? Subtract 4, yes, absolutely. And then what do you get? 1. So this is next equals now. What did we do each year? Plus 4. Where did we start at? How many did we have in the start? 1. It's always the y with your 0. Okay. This one's a little bit smaller. Sorry, my tape is in the way. There are originally 4 trees in the orchard. Originally means that's how many were there when they started, right? So if I make my chart, in year 0, there were 4. Each year, the owner planted the same number of trees. In the 29th year, there was 178 trees. Okay. What's my change in Y?
Going up by 174.
Sorry, I had to go MIA. I had a phone call. Okay, so we went up 174. What about on the top? What did we do? Up 20.
Go up by 29.
Perfect. So change in Y over the change in X is 174 over 29. When you put that in your calculator, you get 6. So our slope is 6. So what does that mean? What happens? Some of you guys had trouble with this on your last quiz. What does that 6 mean? What's your slope tell you? Anybody, what does slope tell you?
The rate of change.
Yeah, so what happened in this orchard? What
The
they
amount of trees went up by 6 each year.
We planted 6 trees a year. So when they ask you to interpret that slope, that's exactly what you do. 6 trees were planted each year, okay? Or it increased by 6 trees each year. So we have y equals 6x. Where did we start? Remember, we start where we have a 0, but we use the y. So what do we start at? 4.
4.
Write the next now for me. Next equals now. Plus 6, very good. I hope that's what you said, plus 6. And then what? Start at 4. Yeah, it goes in the same order, guys. So if you're worried about which number comes first, it's always your slope first and then your y-intercept. And the way you know whether it's plus or minus is if it's positive or negative. Okay, flip it over. This is what you'll see on your quiz. This will take you no time at all. So I need to write recursive and equations. So this is an equation. Next now is recursive. So when they give you this, you're automatically writing a next now. What does this one say? Next equals now. What are we doing each time? Nope. Up by 5. Remember, it goes in the same order. So we have a positive 5 first. That's your slope. It goes up 5. Where do we start at? And make sure you put the negative. Perfect. Again, write the words out. Next equals now on number 2. What's your slope? So -2. What's your y-intercept? We start at -5. And make sure you put the negatives and the positives, whatever you have. On the next one.
+9.
Next equals now +9. Start at. Perfect. And then number 4, next equals now. -4, -4, start at. Perfect. Better now? Know which numbers go where? Okay, good. So now you're going to take your next now and make it into a y equals. They go in the same order. Okay, they go in the same order. So y equals, what's our slope?
3x.
3x. And then we start at
25.
25. So +25 plus 25. What's your equation for number 6? Y equals
-5 minus
-4. Don't forget your x in there, okay? If you don't put your x, you're wrong. The next one, y equals?
-5x plus 13.
Perfect, everybody. And number 8, the last one, y equals?
250x.
You can put the +0, but you don't have to, okay? So it's up to you. Both ways will be counted. All right. So I'm actually going to stop there. I'm not going to write the other ones right now because I'm running out of time. I have about 7 minutes. I will probably do a little video on this. I don't think you have anything on your quiz for this, but you will have stuff on your test, okay? So I will try to do a video for this really fast. Everybody that's in here, you are more than welcome to go ahead and finish your quiz. Please go do the quiz now. Don't come in these Zooms and then not go